All right, if you are tired of dropping money on Draino time and time again due to a clogged bathroom sink, hopefully this video can help you out. In our recent bathroom upgrade, I decided to spend a little bit extra on these clog-free drains and then modify it slightly so it catches all hairs, whiskers, etc., and never have to spend money on Draino again. So we're going to be getting the old drain out of here, the old sink. Now, if you're not doing a bathroom renovation, you just want to upgrade, you can switch out your existing drain only and buy these new ones. And I'll put links down below for the things that you need, including, obviously, the drains that you see here. These are pop-up, clog-free. You want to make sure you get the right one. For example, if you have an overflow hole in your sink, you need a different one. I do not have an overflow hole in my sink, so I am opting to buy these. And the drain, there's a slight variation in there, so make sure you get the right one. Okay, so these drains are really beautiful. I like the really round kind of diameter, and also that has that practical piece to it, right? That idea that it will catch everything. So here are the drains and the context of my project. I'm upgrading to vessel sinks and then installing these brand new drains. And again, at the end of the video, or very soon here, I'll be modifying it a little bit. I'm not going to go over the installation instructions step by step for this drain. I have made a separate video on how to do that, so search my channel if you are interested. Once you have the drain installed, the drain itself just kind of fits right in. It doesn't require any screwing or turning or anything. It just kind of drops right in, and then you can press it or kind of unpress it, so to speak, to either create a seal or not if you're looking to fill up your sink basin. So that's kind of how it works and what it looks like. Now, as far as putting this to the test, you can see here, again, once you're running water, and if a hair or two goes down, it's going to catch that automatically. But these smaller shavings are going to be a little trickier, right? Because if you looked at that filter on the clog-free drain, that brass piece, it doesn't catch any of those small pieces. It just goes right down the drain. So in this video, we're going to be making a little modification to this involving some screen. I just picked up some screen at my local hardware store. It was super cheap. You could also, check out a resale store or something to see. You basically need to look around the house to see, okay, do you have a small little square, about a 1 by 1 inch square, and you're going to fold it like this, and you're going to make a little cut. You want about 1/4 of an inch hole in the middle of that square, and you have the option of putting it on the outside of the drain, just like this. But be careful, because if you do it this way, if your seal, if you have some silicone or some glue, if that fails, then your screen might actually go down into the PVC tube, into your P-trap, into your plumbing, and that could be a problem for you later. So we're going to actually install this on the inside of the brass drain. And to do so, we're going to take this off. There's a little screw, and you undo the screw, and then this piece kind of pops off. And there's a spring in there that will fall out. If it doesn't fall out, you'll have to push it down and then remove it, because we're going to need to put that back together later, and I'll show you how to do that. But for now, we'll just push that screen down inside the brass piece. Can you see that? And you might need a little flathead screwdriver or Phillips screwdriver. Don't puncture the screen, but nice and gently you'll kind of push that down. Now, originally I thought, okay, I'm going to also put a filter around these side compartments. If you do that, I recommend putting them on the inside as well, not on the outside, because if you create extra diameter around the brass, it's not going to fit into the actual drain in the sink once you go to put this piece back in. It's going to be too wide or too thick, and it's not going to go down. So take note on that. I did try it this way and then realized, oops, it's not going to work. So what you see right now, if you're going to do an outside perimeter, put the screen there, do it on the inside of the brass, not the outside. But basically, you'll take this silicone glue, and I'll put links down below for this stuff. You could also use 100% silicone, and you will apply it. Now, be careful. You don't want to actually have any of that protruding into the screen, blocking the holes, right? You only want to apply it lightly and gently to the brass. If it dries and those holes are blocked, that'll be trouble for you. You'll have to remove it and start over. Okay, so we'll carefully get that sealed down. It wants to kind of pop up because I'm not using a lot. Kind of wants to pop up on me. There we go. That looks pretty good. And we're going to get that held down with a rubber band just for a couple of hours to make sure that that seals and dries correctly. All right, that looks pretty dry. Note none of the screen holes are clogged with the sealant that I just put on there, or the adhesive that I just put on there. Now, to put this thing back together again, we are going to take a paper clip or some really sharp object and kind of take off that little ring. Did you see that? And there's a little pin in there as well. Take note as to where the pin is seated and in which direction, right? There's kind of a longer and then a less long piece. The longer piece will go toward the bottom. We're going to take that spring that we took out in an earlier step back in, and we'll actually get the drain connected back to the brass filter. Now, you could just put it in like that. There's a little screw hole. Can you see that? Align it just as shown, and then replace that screw. I recommend putting the screw in first, though, and then doing it. That will save you a little bit of hassle. Just get it kind of started, that screw started in the threads, and then you can tighten it up just like that. So pretty simple to put back together. However, that pin and the ring, we still need to do that. Because if you do it now, it won't lock into place, right? It just kind of compresses and then decompresses. So let's flip it over. We're going to put that pin back in the correct orientation, if you remember how that came out. We'll get it in there. All right, there we go. And now it will lock into place. But we have to secure it by putting that little ring back on. And to do so, kind of get your fingernails on the side there, and then hold one side down, and then use your other fingernail, your other hand, to kind of push it on all the way. You want it to seat just like it was before, like that. Now that pin will not come out at all, and we're back to normal. Remember what I said about that larger diameter with that screen that I put on the outside, right? Look at this. It actually doesn't fit. So I'm going to take that off and just go with the bottom one. There we go. And we'll see how that works. In theory, it should catch all of the shavings, right? All of those smaller things that go down your drain. So let's go ahead and fill it up. And we're going to... Now, obviously, if you do create some... That screen's going to create some less flow when you actually go to drain or when water is going down the tube, right? Because we just created kind of an extra block in a way. So it's going to make your sink drain or your water drain down slightly slower. But in my testing, I didn't notice that it affected it dramatically whatsoever. As long as those screen holes are not clogged with your adhesive, right? That they're all clear and free. So something to think about. That's a trade-off here, right? The idea is to reduce Draino costs over time. I mean, you know, however much that is, $8 to $15 every month or so, however much you spend on Draino. So the idea is that this will pay for itself, and of course the water is going down slightly slower. So as long as you consider that. But it definitely drains still. We're still, good to go. And so here it is. You can see it in action live. I didn't slow this down or time lapse this at all. So it definitely is draining. And how does it compare to one that has not been modified. I installed 2 of these. And here is the unmodified one. So this was brand new right out of the box, right? Installed without that screen piece. So let's fill up that vessel sink, and you can kind of get a sense as to how it compares. So if you looked at that modified one and said, well, that's kind of going slow, right? Well, you know, how does that compare to the actual unmodified one is the question. And I noticed a slight difference, but not one that would deter me from having installed the filter, meaning I'm happy that I installed that screen modification. Okay. So there is a look afterward. Now let's put it to the test. Sorry, a little too much information here, but you see my recent shavings. And we'll get that all kind of washed down, because the idea is you're not supposed to put this stuff down the drain. This is what creates clogs over time, right? So we'll get that kind of rinsed down. And voila, look at that. It did catch all of those shavings, or most of them, right? 95, 99%, maybe. And we'll go ahead and get that cleaned up. Now, how do you clean this out? I actually took it down to the the kitchen sink where the garbage disposal was, and just rinse it off under a steady stream of water, just like this, and it all kind of came out. And that is the trade-off, right? If you do this after each shaving, you should have a clog-free sink forever, a truly clog-free sink, and that's how it works. And we'll stop the video there. Thanks for being with me. Don't forget to subscribe.